this is Dan.
And Dr. Aggro.
From GigaBoots.com, and welcome to the first official GigaBoots podcast. It's official now because we're going to be syndicated. I don't know that it's going to hit the iTunes syndication.
I didn't know if it was just official because you were being officious about it.
I was being officious. This is true. Better officious than facetious. The first official.
Put that in a coffee mug and have no one invite you to the after party.
Just put it down. I bet it was this coffee mug. Picks up other coffee mug that says, "Did you get the memo?" I am the funny guy around the office.
No, the funny guy's down the hall with a coffee mug that says, "Dick don't pay for Strange."
In any case, we're calling this one Exploding Phoenix because the GigaBoots podcast is reborn through iTunes in syndication, synergy.
In Nevada.
What? We're nowhere near Nevada. Would you want to be closer to Nevada? I mean, California is next to Nevada, and
I want to go to California.
No, see, like, you can go to California. You just gotta be nowhere near those fucking huge cities, right? Because that's when you have the absolutely.
I don't know. I feel like I'll be out like in the northern Californian wilderness, in the middle of a huge forest,
and some guy's gonna be
sitting on a rock reading a book, and there's just some asshole's gonna walk by. It's great. It's great to live in California because the weather, and then I'll just have to kill him. Good thing I'm in the middle of a wooded wilderness with places to hide the body.
California both presents you with the problem and the solution.
So really, it's a zero-sum game. I'll save the time and not go.
By smack-talking California, in the first 5 minutes of our podcast, I think we've officially pissed off every person who is new to this. Like, what's a GigaBoots listens? Fuck those guys. They don't love California. Everyone should want to be here. Okay, and we're just gonna move on to we're gonna do a few different segments. The first one's gonna be what we're playing. Just talking about what we're playing. And after that, we're doing a news roundup, and after that, we are doing a quote round table. It's a quote round table because Bob is not quote here.
Wouldn't have been round even if it was.
It would have been triangular. Well, it's a metaphorical table.
It's a metaphorical table.
Yeah.
What's the table a metaphor for?
It's a metaphor for I need to soundproof this room before the next podcast. I don't know if that's going to happen before then.
Kind of a clumsy and ham-handed metaphor.
Yeah, it's obtuse. Okay, so
Mamoru Oshii is obtuse. You're like Voltaire falling down the stairs.
Okay, and we'll move right from that, which fits in great with a gaming podcast, into Aggro. What are we playing?
We?
What are you playing?
Me, I gotta admit I've been playing a shit ton of an iPhone game called Kingdom Rush.
Oh, yeah?
Because
I keep hearing about that.
I have long been a tower defense whore.
Right. I mean, Pixel Junk Monsters.
Yeah, which may be one of the best tower defense games ever made.
I still haven't found one better than that. Continue.
Yeah. Well, it's an iPhone game, and I'm having a lot of fun, and it's weird. So I play it where no one can see me do it because I'm not sure if I'm doing it right.
Is this acceptable? I better hide in case it isn't.
I look over at my Vita that has Final Fantasy VI on it, and I'm like, I'm not being respectable enough. What's going on?
I'm so dishonorable.
Still haven't played Dishonored.
I haven't either.
We need to do that.
Yeah, because God knows Bob isn't. He played it, and he's Bob, so he hates it.
Should we let's play it?
I don't know if we should let's play it, but we should play it.
Yeah.
That much is certain. I'm just going to wait till PlayStation Plus gives it to me. Which means right before Dishonored 2 comes out. Because Battlefield 3, in case you didn't know, it hit this week for PlayStation Plus. It's like Battlefield 4 comes out later this year. Here's Battlefield 3 for the PlayStation 3. And I'm like, oh, cool. Now I can see how much worse than PC this is.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, with the PS4 version, I'm just going to be like, now I'll see how amazingly good this is. And I would never spend this much on a video card.
Oh, my God.
Sweet Jesus.
Like, until I can just fucking plug my console. Like, honestly, I hope that's where PCs go. Yeah. I just plug my fucking console into the video card slot and go.
Wow. What is that? That's like a game stick or OUYA concept there. Like, oh yeah, no, we take over the video card for you.
Speaking of the OUYA,
yeah.
I'm hearing a couple of things about it.
Okay, real quick. We need to establish how we're going to say it. They have their own way of saying it, and I'm not sure Is it OUYA? Are we going to say OUYA, or...
I hear it's OUYA.
Yeah. I'm okay with that, but...
I'm not okay with that name at all.
No. I'm not okay with that name either. It just... Whatever. I don't want to have a discussion about the name. It's pretty self-evident what the fuck it is, but... I'm okay with calling it that. You want to call it that?
Yeah.
Okay. Because it sounds to me like...
I'm pretty much just going to go back and forth, I guess.
Maybe I just hear it wrong, but it sounds like it's in between OUYA and OUYA.
Yeah.
Like, OUYA.
Yeah. They made a stupid fucking name, so I'm not going to put a lot of effort in trying to precisely pronounce it.
Right. Fair enough. But you know how the internet is. Yeah. So, of course, I'm sitting here and I'm like, but what if it affects my street cred?
Like the last 2 or 3 years, we had the great consolidation that it's apparently pronounced Ubisoft.
What? Oh my god, that's right.
Yeah.
I missed the train.
Yeah. They're just like, there wasn't a big thing about it, like with gifts.
It's because, they're French. So it's like...
we're all used to their words being stupid.
We steal half of them.
Yeah, and then we make them better.
I heard, just real quick, sort of related, guillotine. Nothing makes my skin crawl like somebody saying guillotine. Because that's like one step away from gullet-ine. Like guillotine.
Yeah,
I'm like,
gulleting is a very different process.
But, okay, you had something to say about OUYA?
Oh, yeah, like a couple of weird things. Like, it came out, and it was terrible.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the weird thing. The weird thing was apparently people were shocked.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so this is, to the best of my knowledge, everything I've read, this is how it went.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this. I really do. Human nature is absolutely delightful. Oh, hey, I'm really glad we haven't said what the topic for this roundtable is going to be, because we're changing it at this point. Into a discussion of Kickstarter. But in any case, so... OUYA came out. Press review units were sent out in April or something like that. It got reviewed, and everyone universally said, this thing isn't a product. Like, this is not ever the standard. This is not up to the standard one holds when they go to buy a product from anyone. I'm not talking just at a store. Like, you handed man money for this. This is not acceptable at all. Because the store wasn't functioning. There were several parts of the OS that just Android screen, boom, like right up there, not altered at all. The controller is total garbage.
I kept looking at pictures of that.
Was and is.
Kept waiting for like someone to like, oh, this is the real one.
Right. And here's the thing, like, that happened. A bunch of people were like, oh my god, OUYA sucks. No, I have my unit on the way. I'm one of the numerous people who threw money at this thing because of zeitgeist. And OUYA basically went, well, that's not the final unit. That's just the press review unit. And this isn't our official launch. Our official launch is going to be in 3 months when we send it out. Or at that point, it was like 2 months or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then they did that. And we got a few more reviews before everybody got theirs and retail copies started being sold. And it was still exactly that bad.
Mm-hmm.
And the controller is a total piece of shit. Like, it doesn't read things off correctly for inputs. Like, the analog stick is just fucked. And on top of that, it's a very poor construction quality. People have had theirs arrive in pieces. And part of that has to do with the faceplate thing. They were going to make a thing out of it, but then they were like, the faceplate thing, like, that's how you know these fuckers are in California. Like, they're like, we're going to make a faceplate for the controller so you can print your own faceplate with your 3D printer.
Yeah.
That was quite seriously like, what they were doing. And I understand that, somebody on Etsy or somebody elsewhere could print up their own, but if it's a 3D printer, the amount of stuff you're gonna spend printing those is actually
like that isn't stupid on its own. It's stupid as part of the big stupid picture, which is
right.
And this is the thing where teenagers and hipsters who kickstarted this didn't seem to understand it. This was a console designed by an artist and a marketing department.
Right, and the best part is the marketing department was like the head of marketing for IGN, like relationships manager for IGN. That's what that female, who I can't remember the name of right now, did before she went to go make OUYA. She's like, she's the head of that, basically. She was like, I realized, like, okay, a quick history note. The original Xbox was technically conceived when, I believe, oh man, what's his name? Whatever, that's not important. A Microsoft exec, who's nowhere near still at the company, was on a plane, looked at his laptop, and said, we could make a console with these parts. OUYA was that, but even stupider. Somebody looked at their phone and said, we could make a console with these parts. Not understanding OS, drivers, anything like that. I mean, the benchmark came out, like, that was another thing. The benchmark of OUYA came out very shortly after the unit. And one of the favorite things, yeah, I think I sent that to you on Twitter, retweeted it, and you saw it, where it was the low-level programmer Jamin Kessler over at Q Games, whose Twitter handle, because apparently other people in his office can't say it, his Twitter handle is Okonomiyonda, because it's Okonomiyaki. Right. Only Yonda. In any case, whatever. He fucking tweeted the benchmark results, and he's like, I knew it was gonna be a gigaflop. But I didn't expect it would actually be a gigaflop. And I'm like, oh, programmer jokes.
Lovely.
I thought so. I'm a nerd. Okay, so in any case, I guess I'll finally get around to what I'm playing.
What are you playing now, the OUYA?
Yeah. Can you tell? I actually bought Rogue Legacy yesterday, and I haven't gotten around to playing it because I just got off of my work week at my job. Right. And, yeah, like, Rogue Legacy looks so good. Have you seen anything on that?
I really haven't. I just keep hearing people make that noise about it.
It's like the Castlevania-style map construction, procedurally generated, and then when your hero dies, it randomly, genetically produces your offspring. So it has random traits. Yeah, so...
Oh, yeah!
You can be a homosexual knight that has irritable bowel syndrome.
Oh, God. I thought you were talking like it does your stats like that. It actually assigns you character traits.
Like, the cool thing is, what do you call it?
What if my character thinks homosexuality is a choice?
Can that actually... Do you think that could be genetically dictated?
It might be. Fucking everything is these days.
Fucking incredulous asshole. Like, there we go. In any case, gigantism.
Nice.
Yeah. So your character's actually much larger and lumbering.
The depths, 30 stories high.
He's like 2 of your normal guy tall, and then about 2 wide, and he's just like this lumbering beast of a man.
Shit.
It is really cool. It's looking really awesome. I threw $15 at that. Felt bad that I didn't pre-order because I could have saved some money. I forget how much, like $1 or whatever. That looks fantastic. Haven't gotten around to playing it yet. I was playing Gran Turismo Academy. We're doing a quick play of this very soon. This should be up on YouTube very shortly after this podcast. Let me just briefly
Gran Turismo
explain.
Game. Can't wait.
Yeah, right. See, I love Gran Turismo because I get to RPG it. Like, I'm not good at driving. Guess I'm gonna keep running this circuit until I have enough money to make my engine and car ridiculously better than everybody else's. And Aggro, on the other hand, does not. It's not his thing.
I played Gran Turismo once. It was some fucked up mode where you had to like hit this turn in a certain amount of time, and I'm watching this asshole and another one of his asshole friends be like, oh yeah, you have to downshift into this and all this fucking stick shift nonsense. So I showed them how you play a real fucking racing game. I drifted across the gravel and finished backwards in front of all the other cars. Challenge complete. Drop the mic.
Mission Caprito. Now, are we dropping the mic or are we chucking it over the edge of Game Trailer's headquarters?
I think... Oh, my God.
Yeah.
You think anybody recovered that mic? Like, is it in a case somewhere?
Probably. They were
the mic drop heard around the world
because of the way they talk about it. I think somebody probably walked off with that shit before they could get down there to fucking pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
But some guy was like, "Thank you, God. Thanks. You're my bro." So yeah, GT Academy, just to quickly summarize for people who don't know, it's essentially a Gran Turismo 6 demo, but GT Academy is something they've been doing this whole time. I think this one's called Nissan GT Academy 2013. Basically what it is you go in and there's the top player from the first GT Academy, and they're like, "Hey, I'm the top player from blah, blah, blah." And it's like text with a picture of them, and they're just doing one of those poses.
Yeah.
You know the ones. And he basically runs you through the basics of Gran Turismo, and you do a couple of my favorite part of Gran Turismo, the really early races that make you feel good. Where it's like,
welcome to Gran Turismo. Everything's okay. You are of an adequate skill level.
You're a fucking snowflake. Come on in, snowflake. So you do the Sunday Cup. You do the Sunday Cup in a Nissan car, and it's just 2 Nissan cars. That's all you get. Mm-hmm. So you do the Sunday Cup, which is 2 races, and you do that, and then those are really easy. And then it's like, okay, good job. And he teaches you basics through those. And then he's like, okay, now the Clubman Cup, Championship Cup, whatever, is now open. Use this other high-end Nissan car, and you do that. And then he was like, yeah, good job. Now you can actually try GT Academy. And what it is it's 5 trials that are absolutely fucking ridiculous. I am not shit at Gran Turismo. Like, I'm really not the worst person I know at Gran Turismo. I may be the best person I know at Gran Turismo, which says more about my friends group than my skill level. But... well, no, I have friends who like Gran Turismo.
Which, friends don't let friends like Gran Turismo.
You let me. Ow.
Yeah, I'm sorry. But you were like that when I found you. I'm not going to hold your hand through rehab.
It's like you buy a product and you open the box and it's broken. You don't start freaking out and gluing it back together. I'm like, no! You just try to return it. But in any case, I spent 2 hours on this 38 second segment. 40 second. And it's like, you need to attack this corner while doing this. And it gives you a driving line to go through. And, the driving line's colored to let you know what you're supposed to do. Like, accelerate here and brake here. But it's so hardcore.
So is that the thing I just walked in and wrecked shit on that one time?
Yeah, it's something like that. This is so, because that was a license test to get a Class B license, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So that was one of the first one of those. This is so high-end. So 2 hours of grinding on this, and I still couldn't get the gold, which was 35.5 seconds. I got 35.7. 2 hours of my life, maybe 3, going straight into this, and that's what I got. And I was 57,000th in the country. But in any case, basically it ranks you across all of these.
Right.
And then the last thing is especially important. It ranks you exclusively on that one, and that's what they use to rank everybody. And they fucking take, the top 10 people.
Mm-hmm.
Who do this absolutely insane course. Because what I was doing was 4 curves, 4 corners in it. The final one is the entire track. And then they take the top 10 people from that ranking in the entire, world. It's not the United States exclusively, I don't think. And then they do, a tournament or whatever. They basically do their own cool little marketing gimmicky tournament thing based on that.
Right.
And it's a really cool program. It's, really neat. I like things like that coming from Sony. Here's this awesome video game we make. We're now going to have the Wizard competition.
Well, you submit your high score and we give you a golden fucking sword. Do you remember that one? No. There were, I can't remember the name of this game series. You'd be okay?
best advertisement ever.
It fucking
Send
happened.
in your high score, and we give you a golden fucking sword.
I've got to look it up. Like they had tournaments, and if you got the high score in this fucking weird ass abstract puzzle game, back like we're talking like 2600
NES.
days.
Oh wow.
Yeah, no, it was way back there. There was one for, I think they made one for water, and then they made one for earth and maybe fire. There was supposed to be one for each element, and like there was a golden cup and like a golden helmet and a golden sword, but they never made the last prize. And these were seriously like full on thousands of dollars of precious metals and shit, and they gave out 2 of them, and the third one, like 10, 20 years later, like somebody caught a glimpse of it. They're pretty sure it's hanging up in the living room of one of the guys who used to be a part of that publishing company's house.
Oh.
Yeah, like I need to find you this story because it's some great multi-generational, holy shit.
Yeah, see, I always like that.
Mm-hmm.
I always like that sort of historical thing of like, for example, not a whole lot of people know this. The 3DO, it wasn't an actual hardware console. It was a spec. They were like, 3DO is an experience much like an audio CD or a movie DVD, like a Laserdisc. So 3DO is a spec, and a company called the 3DO Company made that spec and talked to Philips? Whatever, different manufacturers to manufacture 3DOs. But what most people don't know is that company was made by EA. That was EA's major gamble to make their own console.
Huh.
Yeah, they fucking threw the gauntlet like 20 years ago, and no one noticed or remembered because it was another company.
The gauntlet cost comparatively $1,000 fucking dollars.
What was it? I think it was like 800, 900, or 700. Like, god damn, was that expensive?
Adjusting for inflation, it's like $1,100 these days.
Yeah, it's absolutely fucking ridiculous, and it wasn't even good. There's a talk by Mark Cerny called "The Road to PS4," and he actually talks about he was over there. I believe that was the 3DO he was talking about. Yeah, pretty sure. Not completely positive, but you know what? Now I need to check that. But basically, what he arrived at is he was like, I was one of the first people to make a 3D engine on it, and that was like my major goal. They're like, go off, make a 3D engine, and he does it, and then he's like, oh shit, none of these parts are powerful enough for a 3D game, let alone 2D games. And you know, that's sort of, and that's, I think that entire story, like, it was EA, but another company, and it was a spec and not real hardware, and then they got manufacturers to make it, and then there were incompatibilities because of this, and then they came up with this spec, and then they did all that, and then some guy came in and tried to get a 3D engine running on it, and it wouldn't. Like, all of that combined properly synopsizes why people should have been more pessimistic about OUYA. Like, it is so hard to make a console. Yeah. None of these people know.
I don't know, Sega did it, like, several times a generation.
Yeah.
Seemed to work out for them.
Yeah, that worked out great. How's Shenmue 3 going for you?
Did you see that Dreamcast 2 video?
No.
Some asshole made a mock-up of a Dreamcast 2 teaser reveal video.
Oh.
And, you know, like, it's showing the box, and it's got, a disc that says Shenmue 2 on it, and it's going in there. Three, sorry.
Because 2 was on the Xbox.
Yeah, I don't know.
But was it originally on the Xbox? I believe it was originally on the Xbox. It could have been a port, though. Who knows? Do you think that was coming from a good place? Like, that guy was like, oh, man, Dreamcast 2 would be amazing. I'm going to make this amazing video. Or do you think he's just an asshole?
I hope it was, because honestly, like, I wasn't a Dreamcast kid, but I've seen the light. Yeah. Like when you say it to them, the light goes on in their eyes, and then it just slowly dies. Like, every time they remember the Dreamcast, their hope lives again and dies.
Like a fucking anime character who's just like emotionally broken because protagonist dude is dead, and waifu character is all like pastel colored entire eye. It's a lavender. The whole thing. There's no iris. There's no pupil. It's just lavender. But yeah, okay. So I guess that's all I've been playing. As per usual, I've been playing a lot of the TACS games, TACS games on PlayStation Mobile for the Vita.
Right.
He's got a couple more out that I've yet to buy. But yeah, he makes good stuff. I trust him with my money. I think I bought one thing by someone who wasn't him on PlayStation Mobile and regretted it deeply immediately. Okay, and we're in the news roundup. First bit of news, Microsoft's Don Matrick left to go to Zynga.
I just like to open this discussion with...
Let it all out, Aggro.
So, I was telling a friend this, and then they asked me, like, so, did he quit? My first response was, I don't know. I just assumed he got resigned.
Yeah, from what all the news is saying, they were going to have some major restructuring of the entire Xbox division after the shitstorm. After, what was it, a month and a half shitstorm?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because the unveil was super early May, right? It was like May 10th?
Yeah.
And then E3 was June 10th. Something like that. So, you know, that was well over a whole month. Like, a little bit over a whole month of just shit PR for that entire division. So, from what we're hearing, the culling was imminent, and Zynga needed a new CEO anyways, and he had sort of been talking to them about it.
It's such a great picture, just him going to Zynga, because these guys really needed someone who could stay on message, regardless of how nonsensical, soul-crushing, or ridiculous that message was.
Yeah, and you have your man. Apparently, he's getting compensated. Allegedly, he's getting compensated $50 million in cash and stock options. Which, cash, yay, stock options.
Like from Zynga?
Yeah, it's a cash bonus for him signing on as CEO.
What's he going to do with Zynga stock?
Do you not know how horseshit CEO-ship has become?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gotten really ridiculous over the last 5 years.
I think the CEO position has been most accurately described by the William Street animation Squidbillies, in which Dan Halen described, your responsibilities will include showing up, leaving, and taking liability for any class action lawsuits that may or may not, and in fact currently are being levied against the company.
See, that's like the one thing. So few CEOs, and just so you know, I don't just follow gaming news. I follow a lot of tech stuff. Like I follow a lot of small tech companies, huge tech companies, and venture capitalists and angel investors and shit like that. Just because it's an interesting field. There aren't too many CEOs you can point at and say, this is what they did in this short amount of time, like you can with Kaz Hirai over at Sony. He came in and he's like, the PlayStation division is clearly our namesake and our bread and butter if we don't PS3 again. And the PS3 wasn't something they arrived at as an extension of the core principles, or rather it was, and they had to completely change what those were. Like, we need to make the most high-end piece of shit to do amazing fucking things, and it'll be a goddamn... Like, it wasn't until that Road to the PS4 video that it fucking clicked in my head. Wait a second. Supercomputer on a chip describing the cell, you know, they say that over and over and over. It's like a supercomputer on a chip. I'm like, that's fucking horse shit. Stop saying that. Like, I know it's powerful, but and then it clicked. That's not a compliment. This is a supercomputer on a chip. You have to program right, or a supercomputer won't do anything for you. He'll process as fast as one of those computers could process. That was the point. They were like, supercomputer on a chip, so if you program right, it's amazing. And
I still believe somewhere in the middle of that console's life cycle, there actually was a secret document of how to program correctly for it.
That was actually, ICE. The ICE team, which was founded from a lot of Naughty Dog people, basically is that, only people instead of words.
I imagine like a big black suitcase chained to somebody's wrist.
I'm here. They uncuff him. Yeah, there's nothing in that suitcase. Fuck. So yeah, that's the first bit of news. The whole Don Matrick thing.
I really can't wait to hear what comes out of his mouth now that he's in charge of Zynga. I hope he bounces around companies. I want to see this man continue to be an amazing mouthpiece for horse shit.
Zynga basically is the only company that I think would have taken this man after the shitstorm that was.
Like you think maybe after this he can become the coach of an inner city baseball team and sort of like rally them to victory. This hodgepodge group of misfits.
Instead of answering whether or not he can do that, I'm going to instead think about whether or not I would watch that movie. You know, he's the guy who made Test Drive. Don Matrick made the original Test Drive when he was like 17 or something. What?
Man, that would be mind-blowing if I knew what Test Drive was.
Well, it's a long-running franchise going all the way back to DOS. And just the fact I said he did it when he was 17, you know, that's how old it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Zynga's the only people who would have taken him. Most other people would probably be above fucking ruining their company. See, Zynga's already pre-fucked.
Yeah.
Like, that's the majority of why they would take him. No more comments?
No.
Moving on. Darkspore. Apparently the sequel to Spore that no one cared about. I actually heard about it and I was like, oh, that's cool. Was Spore a game that could do that?
Yeah, I didn't remember there, like, you sent me this link and I'm like, Darkspore? The fuck is sequel this? Oh, that happened. And that's all that was in my brain.
Yeah.
There was a sequel and it was called Darkspore.
And, like, here's the thing. I read Darkspore and I read, like, 2 different articles on this and then I just, like, EA made a game Darkspore. I don't know what the fuck that is. And then one of them was like the sequel to Spore, and I'm like, oh my god, that RPG sequel with the dark. Wow, I forgot about you. Let's pull you out of the cupboard and dust you off, knowledge. But yeah, in any case, it stopped working on July 1st because of an always online DRM that well, their authentication server started having issues with the always online DRM. Yeah. But we're so past that because everyone was ready for the Xbox One DRM. In any case, but it got pulled from Steam because what happened is in the support forums on Steam for that game, people were pointing out it's got an error, code 3 error. Is anybody gonna fucking fix this? And then some random mod from Steam, I guess, just sort of strolled in and he's like, guys, this game's kind of abandoned. But people thought he worked at EA.
Oh.
And that's when the shitstorm started.
Oh.
Like, what the fuck, man? I paid money for this. And yeah. So that Steam removed it for a bit, and then EA's like, no, we're gonna make it work. We're gonna make it. Please put it back up, please.
Please put it back on Steam.
Like, honestly, we realize we're ruining always online DRM for the entire industry every day of the week.
I honestly, one day I expect like one of the big deciding factors on digital rights management going forward is one day Steam is just gonna go, no, and start culling their list of certain companies if they just become too insane or draconic.
Right. See, that ties into the whole, like, why do people have a problem with Xbox One DRM when Steam does that? Like, that ties into that conversation very well because Steam is one of many ways to get a video game that is competing against the others, and as such, it has been pushed to be this awesome service that it is. There is no other digital delivery service for Xbox One, and there never will be, which is the difference here. There's no competition. There is no market-driven innovation. And yeah, like, if Steam went off the cliff like that, like the steep end, just fucking crazy. One, I couldn't see Gabe Newell being in charge of a company that did that.
Yeah. Well, this is long after we revealed that Gabe Newell has been a locust swarm for the last 6 years.
Oh, wow. I thought we were going with Willy Wonka. Is he dead? Is he not? And then he comes out and he's crazy. Come on, buds, drink my suds. In any case. But yeah, so I don't think they could make that move even if they wanted to. And as far as I know, EA still hasn't fixed the problem with Darkspore, but it's back up on the store and they're working on it. So. You can't really say they just wanted it back up on the store to milk people for money. Who the fuck is buying Darkspore in 2013? In any case, next bit of news. Insomniac is seeking iOS programmers. This was more a job listing than an actual news article, but I'm going to make narrative out of it. Insomniac, you're still pursuing mobile? Insomniac! Buddy! What are you doing? Like, mobile isn't a wasteland. This is the problem. Mm-hmm. And this sort of ties into the Double Fine Kickstarter thing. Double Fine designed to make big games, like epic games with decent budgets in the millions. And then they're like, we're going to make a $400,000 game. And then that just fucking flops. Like, they're incapable of doing that. Insomniac, same deal there. You guys were console exclusive AAA developers. Stop pretending you're other things. As much as people don't understand this, there is a craft to making games. There is a very strict discipline to what people are specialized at. Mm-hmm. Which is why you will always see the same types of games from these developers. The Twisted Metal people are great at making Twisted Metal. So they're gonna make Twisted Metal. And multiplayer heavy, like really good games like Warhawk. Mm-hmm. Warhawk was made by a lot of the Twisted Metal team. And then Jeffy's like, come with me. We ride. Insomniac just... what was it? Somebody's excited about Sunset Overdrive. I'm like, how are you excited about Insomniac making an Xbox One exclusive Sunny D commercial? I don't like
it's Insomniac going back to making crazy weapons in a weird bright color scheme.
It wasn't that weird and it wasn't that bright. That's my thing. It was like
it wasn't that bright.
Well, like
the thing just described as a Sunny D commercial.
It wasn't colorful universally and character-wise. It was very plebeian universe. It was like, this is a normal setting. This is a city, but monsters are attacking. The weapons exclusively are the crazy part.
Yeah.
Which is sort of like why I'm disappointed, because it's like, you guys made Ratchet & Clank and Spyro. And I know Spyro isn't that crazy, but Spyro was fucking amazing. And I would like something a bit more from Insomniac, because in my opinion, like, this is just me talking, this is why I'm not excited about that game. It just seems like more of this Insomniac doesn't know what they are. They're like, we're opening a second studio and they're going to pursue social and mobile. And then their Facebook game flopped. And then mobile, I don't know if they put out a game yet. I think they did. But yeah, they may have just been working on it this whole time. And they're flip-flopping which consoles they're on, basically burning bridges. And like, it was beautiful. Somebody was like, if you contextualize it properly, when they started development on... what was the... I love the crickets. I think they're going to hear a good bit of the crickets in this. Like, just yeah. That's a good tone for this. No one's interested in any of the words we're saying, Aggro. So sad. But in any case, what was the original name for Fuse?
Overstrike.
Overstrike. I'm like, Overburst, Overdrive, fuck it.
Yeah, like when Resistance 2 came out, I started getting really worried about Insomniac, that they had just become distended and lost their focus. And then we got Resistance 3 out of them. I'm like, awesome. Then Overstrike came out. I'm like, Insomniac's back. And the Fuse came out. And I'm like, wait, shit, false alarm.
Well, see, here's the thing. Overstrike, when they started development on Overstrike, the PS3 was still the underdog in the States, and worldwide still selling less than the 360. So Insomniac probably played the blame game, like Ratchet & Clank Tools of Destruction and Ratchet & Clank A Crack in Time didn't sell as well, and Quest for Beauty didn't sell as well, and what was that last one? Like, the 4-player top-down, whatever. In any case, they basically were playing the blame game of, like, these aren't selling well because the PS3 is not as popular as it should be, or Sony's not supporting us like they should be. And it's like, guys, no. A lot of this is just, like, not innovating enough. Like, Tools of Destruction kind of didn't innovate enough over the PS2 games. Like, there are a lot of people who preferred the second or third PS2 game to Going Commando and Up Your Arsenal over Tools of Destruction. And A Crack in Time is good. Like, I understand that is that is just so good. And if that was the first one, the series may be still kicking. And if they didn't crank out
almost platinum that fucking game.
2 or 3, really?
I couldn't do the I had to go collect like 5 more of one bullshit thing, which was a time sink, and I tried all night and I couldn't get the last arena challenge down.
Oh yeah,
I was like 2 hits away from winning. I was 10 minutes of cursing pissed.
But yeah, Insomniac just sort of like, because they were in the same standing as Naughty Dog. At the very beginning of all this, their Genesis story is identical to Naughty Dog's, basically, and it just seems like they basically become at this point like, Sony sucks and they aren't doing enough to support us. It has nothing to do with the product we are turning out. These 5 Ratchet and Clank games we made this gen are gold. And it's like Quest for Booty, Crack in Time, Tools of Destruction, that MOBA one, and then the top-down shooter party game. Well, I feel like it was supposed to be a party game.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know what was up with that. The mobile one was actually kind of fun. I just don't know why it exists.
Yeah, see, that's the problem. Like, you guys monetizing this in a clever way? No? Oh, so I'm paying $15 and then disappointed by the quality? Yes? Okay, that's great. That's a good way to... Yep, good job. Yeah, and much in the same way that sort of failed as a paradigm, their Facebook game did the same thing, from what I understand of. They used the energy system in a super restrictive way. You know what I'm talking about, when you get this much, but you can buy more. And unlike with Tekken Revolution, there isn't some layer of like, but no, arcades are like this. You lose something when you lose. That's what's important. Like Tekken Revolution, that works out for it because of that. This just felt...
I remember like the only game that ever used the you can only play this much a day that I didn't mind was Spiral Knights.
Thank you for reminding me of the name of that game. I'm like, that thing that fucking...
That game fucking ruled. And like, it was like, I felt it was enough per day. And honestly, I'm like, okay, I'm out of energy. So I can stop playing.
Yeah. I threw $1 at Tekken Revolution because I was like, I've been playing this for days. Thank you. Like, I always feel of it like that about it. So if I had sunk time into Spiral Knights, I probably would have just money-hatted them. I can't wait to soundproof this room.
Yeah.
The first podcast having crickets is just going to be hilarious. But in any case, I guess we'll go ahead and move on instead of continuing to talk about Insomniac and move on to The Lightning Returns Final Fantasy 13. That's the title.
Wow.
That gets me every time. Like, Lightning Returns : Final Fantasy 13. And it's not even 13.3. Final Fantasy 13 has become the subtitle of this game.
Yeah.
In any case,
God damn it, new Square Enix, you fucking guys.
You know they got rid of the CEO, right? Yeah, they were like,
the CEO. I'm like, you know they got rid of the CDO, right? I'm like, Dan, it's 2013. Yes, I'm aware the CDO is no longer a thing.
3DO and CDI.
Ah.
Yeah. I know,
I thought
right?
CDO was also a thing.
Maybe? We'll look that up. But in any case, it's getting a Cloud Strife suit and Buster Sword as a pre-order bonus. And I was interested in this game because of some of the things they were saying, but I'm a jaded 26-year-old man who's been playing video games literally since I was, like, born. Like, I've always had video games there. At this point, I can so easily not care. Like, that is something I am incredibly capable of.
And the interesting thing about Final Fantasy 13 is it proactively projects not caring.
Yeah.
I couldn't care about 13.
As a universe, if this didn't have that universe, I definitely would care more. Because I cared more about End of Eternity, or whatever they called it in the States. I cared more about that game right off the bat than I care about a third installment in the Final Fantasy 13 universe. But the problem is they ended 13.2 in a cliffhanger. And then they gave you the concept, like, they left you with the idea that they were going to sell the real ending as DLC. They may have even directly said that. But then they didn't. They sold, like, one thing as DLC. Yeah, that's Square Enix for you nowadays. Want to move on?
I can't even begin. One more thing about this article itself. I didn't really like Final Fantasy VII. And I'm kind of sick of it being the Final Fantasy that always gets, like, crossovers and appearances and shit with everything else. Lightning? Pulling that outfit off.
Well, here's the thing. Like, Square Enix themselves, I believe, even came out up front. Or at least they were leading the pack on Like, they were taking control of the situation. People were pointing out, you guys are trying desperately to reenact Final Fantasy VII's popularity. Because the game starts out with a group of terrorists in a military organization on a train, it exploding, and then the main character is a blonde who's militaristic and has a very bland personality who's just taking charge of the situation. Yeah, it's just, they're like, no, that's what lightning's about. Like, cloud, lightning. And
yeah, hanging lantern on doesn't make it not a shitty thing to do.
Yeah, it is a shitty thing to do, but the cloud outfit just fucking works because of that. It works because it's a shitty thing to do.
I thought it worked because of her hip structure.
Yeah, it does. Like, yeah. So in any case, so the people who made Journey, that game company, their name, I believe that's all portmanteaued together, TGC and that game company, all one word, is just now getting royalties for Journey. Apparently, yeah, it took this long to break even and then make money.
Damn. Sony
was just like money, and then that bankrupted the company because that was their first game. That game well, maybe as that game company, that was their second, maybe third. I don't think Flow was produced under the That Game Company moniker, but I could be wrong. Either way, they didn't exactly have money.
Right.
And then they do this absolutely hugely ambitious game that they kept scrapping and starting over on because they wanted to achieve a mood, a tone, not a gameplay thing. Yeah. Now, the amusing side note out of this anecdote is apparently Eurogamer notes that it bankrupted the company and completely ruined it. And Genova Chen, one of the two founders, isn't even there anymore, is how fucked this company is. And then Eurogamer notes all this in the article, and then at the end they said, it was worth it. We gave it a 9 out of 10. Read that review. And I'm like, no, that isn't worth it.
Oh, Jesus.
Be more fucking human. Be more sympathetic. What is wrong with you? Why would you ever say that? And with that, I'm just going to go ahead and move on. Little Big Planet players have made 8 million fucking levels. 8 million. That is a shitload.
Yeah.
It's like, I understand.
Well, I don't know. Like, this is like you go on Napster and like, oh, there's 8 million songs. No, there are 8 million files.
Okay, fair enough. But, people don't remix each other's levels enough. I'm not saying each one of them is a gem, but either way.
Some of them are just penises.
Some of them are trophy
Do you think
levels.
anybody like snuck on the Twin Towers exploding again? Like years later, the coast is clear, re-upload?
I don't know. I'm interested in whether or not that happened. So, we got some news that actually good fan service DLC was going to be in PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. It was going to be Abe from Abe's Odyssey and Dart. And Abe's Odyssey, in case you didn't know, was kind of like, what was it? What was the name of the Oh, God. Whatever. In any case, it's a 2D... You know what? Fuck describing Abe Odyssey. In any case, what I'm going to say is it's integral to the PlayStation brand early on, which is why when the Xbox had the sequel, it was like a low blow.
Right.
It was like, whoa, oh my God, what? No, there's street creds over at Microsoft. This is crazy. So, like, that's really good PlayStation fanboy fan service. Like, that's awesome. Cool. That would have been great to see. And then also Dart from Legend of Dragoon. And I know people, Brett Ellis, who won't shut up about Legend of Dragoon to
Basically,
this
people
day.
who like Legend of Dragoon just won't shut up about Legend of Dragoon.
Because they're like, Sony, why don't you make RPGs anymore? And I'm like, guys, because they're Sony. And they generally don't... They follow the market for 80% of their titles. Like, the market likes this, let's make that. And then they have the 20%, which is like weird shit. Hey, Linger in Shadows, guys. Come make a full game. Oh, what are you going to make it about? Let's make it about Datura. Yeah, everybody loves Datura. They want to fucking trip balls. Datura's that one game where you use the move in your hands and shit. Did you ever get to play that?
No.
You should play that. It's pretty fucking weird. But in any case, they came out with some art leaked of this stuff. And I was like, oh man, that would have been awesome. That hurts so much to see. But yeah, it looks pretty cool. That's about all I can say at this point. It's just draining, to think of that. Of like, oh, that could have been in PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale.
And now it's not.
Like, here's the thing. I was thinking about it earlier today. Do you think, because there are a lot of canceled projects at Sony, our last news story is actually about that. Actually, you know what? We'll shuffle that around. We'll get to that next. I'm going to talk in a Mark Cerny tone, which means I'm going to drop down to a nice soft voice like this, and then say things, and then raise up and talk like this.
If he shows up, I'm not helping you fight Mark Cerny.
I want to fight Mark Cerny. That would be awesome. What were the two characters in Fight Club? Like, if you could fight anyone from history, who would you fight?
Abe Lincoln and Gandhi.
Gandhi, yep. Abe Lincoln and Gandhi.
I'd watch those guys fight.
But in any case, Sony generally cancels projects that aren't coming along well. I forget the name of that series that they owned that was kind of like Hitman, but they just like kept trying to make a sequel for it, and they're like, that's not working out. Shutting Studio Liverpool down. We're shutting that down. We're canceling that game. We're canceling this game. They actually, what was it? Mark Cerny said, if you aren't canceling, it was some large number, like 30%. If you aren't canceling 30% of the games you start to develop, you're turning out too many bad games.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I mean, this guy has a huge background in game development. Like, him and one other guy formed the cornerstone of how we do video game production generally.
Right.
Like, this is your pre-production phase. This is how you do this. Don't write a giant document. That's stupid. But yeah, how did PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale not get canceled? All I can think of is they had too many third-party deals going on.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, 2K Games is going to be really upset if we cancel this, because
I think with a lot of game development, there comes a point at which you go, this will all come together at the end. You've got, like, this will all just come together.
Like, here's the thing, and I'm sure his opinion is very different now, but back in 2003, somewhere in the early 2000s, early mid 2000s, Mark Cerny did a talk on game development, and he was talking about if by the end of pre-production you don't have the best looking game with an interesting technical gimmick on the market, then cancel it, because you aren't the cutting edge, and by the time you get done making that game, you are definitely not the cutting edge. Like, there's no way, because they built a PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale on the Blue Point engine. Blue Point, in case you didn't know, is the people who ported Metal Gear Solid to the PS3.
Yeah.
Why do they have an engine, and why are you using it? That's so bizarre, of like, they're licensing out their what? You're using their what?
Lovely.
Yeah, so I don't know how that could have ever turned out well.
Yeah.
Moving on, what was it? It was called Warrior's Lair, and then it was called Ruin. Well, it's ruined. They canceled it. They officially canceled it. And I remember some time back they were like, oh, yeah, no, that's over at the San Diego studio now. Such and such people, I forget who was making it originally, is no longer...
not here, man. I fucking bought a Vita. Like, I held the Vita in one hand and held my hope of playing Ruin one day in the other. I walked both of those up to the counter equally.
Yeah. See, that's another layer of that, like, when people buy a piece of hardware, they have a certain expectation with it. Because I remember...
Sony to write me a check.
I remember when I wrote that episode of The Rant Is Go about how Nintendo completely fucked their consumer by dropping the price, you were like, well, why is that? Like, why do you see it that way? And I sort of had to get that across. Like, because when they buy it, they have a certain expectation based on these things. Like, it's going to maintain its price for at least this long, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. That's the deal with Ruin and the Vita. Like, I'm buying this Vita because it allows these amazing things like this to be made. And you have said you are making this, and ergo, I expect this to be made.
Yep.
And it's gone. It's fucking gone.
I mean, I guess that's not as bad as, a company going back in years into the life cycle of a product and removing features that actually came with it.
Is there an example of that? I'm sure there is.
Sony did that to the PS3. Linux support?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's... Did you use Linux on PS3?
I had Linux on PS3.
Right.
It's not the point.
I understand that.
Okay.
If Linux on the PS3 was a really good solution, like if it was solid, if it wasn't some weird growth on the system that came about because of a mutation of needing to justify this really expensive console, I would be in the same boat as all these other people. Be like, God damn it, Sony, that was cool. Why the fuck did you do that? And I understand as a programmer, there's amazingly cool stuff you could do. Like, there were ways you could access the SPUs via some finagling.
And I don't care about its functionality. They removed a feature they sold systems with.
I understand that. I'm just saying, I would have been in that boat if it weren't some terrible.
What boat are we talking about?
We're talking about the
trying to get across.
I'm trying to get across that a lot of people were really pissed that they removed that feature, and I understand that, and I am sympathetic. I am not empathetic. I am not with those people, and I just stand at the side going, but guys, that was fucking retarded. Like, that feature just did not work well at all. I understand that, like of the people complaining, 0.0001% maybe actually used it and were genuinely actually furious. But the rest of the people are like, you removed a feature! And it's like, guys, did you use that feature? Do you understand what's going on here? Don't show up at this party with angry protesters pretending that you believe in their cause. Those are the people I'm actually like... Because I understand being sympathetic for those people, and I understand being like, no, you sold them a product with a feature, don't just remove it. But yeah, that feature was, like, it is a mixed thing for me to come to terms with and have an opinion on, because that thing was such a weird growth of a feature. Like, it was clunky, it was horrible, it was like Windows 3.1 style, like, you could physically feel the points at which it stopped working well. Me too. You know, Lazy Game Reviewer has a review of that, and it is delightful.
Okay.
It is exquisite.
Noted.
People should watch it.
Who owns the rights to that game? Because I can't find it online.
I don't know who owns the rights.
Someone is making sure no one gets to play Chips Challenge, and they're pissing me off.
Yeah. Both of these things are true words. True facts. There's a last thing on Ruin. There's a post by somebody who allegedly worked on the game. I'm sure they did, but I'm saying allegedly because we have absolutely no evidence. That on NeoGAF that is talking about the game and it getting canceled, and he's just like, here's the thing, he's too close to it to be objective, and even he says that, but he keeps going, there's absolutely no reason Sony should have canceled this project. And I'm like, if that were true, if that were genuinely true, then why did they? Like, because even, like, Sony could have easily written off as, well, this is a premium PSN game, because it was coming out on PS3 and Vita. You buy it on one, you get it on both.
Right.
But there had to be something going horribly wrong with development. In his post, he even said, yeah, we pushed it back a few months at one point, and Sony wasn't happy with that. It sounded like it was in development hell, probably because it was too ambitious and they didn't have the infrastructure or support they needed in order to do that.
Right.
And I don't mean support in like Sony didn't have their back. I mean support like they didn't, well, I guess redundant, but they didn't have an infrastructure for that. They didn't have a network code base to work with to just make that easier to implement. So yeah, that guy's post basically slightly enlightening, and that's the category I'm putting that in. Yeah. The console version of Diablo 3 makes it easier to get loot in general.
Like better loot drops more often?
It is more specific loot drops. Like, oh, you're a warrior. Loot drop. This is for you. You crafted You crafted something. We're going to make sure this something actually works with your character.
Awesome.
Like, these things are added to the game. And as someone who bought Diablo 3 at launch and played through the game within a week, maybe 2, maybe 3, I doubt 3, probably a week. This isn't the same game. And I expected as much, but it's really funny to hear features they're adding for the console version specifically. They're like, yeah, this is what's going to be in the console version. I'm like, does that game could do that? What? What the fuck did I miss? Like the Real Money auction house, I don't even know if that's still up.
No,
I heard there were major issues, and I thought they closed it because of that.
A couple of times. I don't know if they completely took it down.
Yeah, I think they completely took it down because they were like, "This was a mistake. We are sorry." But I don't know what.
I remember when they finally scrapped the multiplayer arena. They're like, we couldn't balance it, and everybody's like, nobody asked you to balance it.
Yeah, that was like 2 layers of, that was a bad idea. Of course you could have balanced it, and additionally, no one asked you to. Like, Blizzard. Like what?
Fucking Blizzard.
The Pokemon Global Link is getting shut down in January. Do you know Pokemon Global Link?
Nope.
Flash games. You go to the Pokemon Global Link.
Oh, one of those things, and you input, this is the Pokemon, and these are his stats?
No. The Dream World thing. Like, you would take... You haven't done any of this with Pokemon Black or White. Okay,
yeah,
so...
It's like, this is the Dream World. I'm like, okay, this is a 5-minute tutorial for something I don't think I'm ever going to use.
5 minute, I wish. Yeah. It's fucking insane. Like, the Pokemon people need to understand if they want to build an experience on top of their game that ties directly into their game that is really important in how it affects the game, they need to make it a lot more possible.
Mm-hmm.
Because if 20-plus-year-old people are looking at this and going, this is fucking retarded and I'm not going to do it,
yeah,
chances
like,
are
when did I start playing Disgaea? What are all these extra menus for?
Jesus. But yeah, so you would go into the Dream World, upload your Pokemon, go to the Pokemon Global Link, get to play Flash games, get exclusive items because of the Flash games, blah, 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 and then take it back. And they're not exclusive in the sense of, like, you can only get it, but you basically can get it really easily, really well using that system. And that also has an energy-based system, so you have to do it every so often with a different Pokemon, and you get things.
Really? Did we need extra techniques to habituate playing Pokemon?
Yeah, right? And that's, like, the number one thing the Pokemon Global Link does. It habituates playing Pokemon in a specific way. It makes you make it ritualistic. And holy shit, guys, it's Pokemon.
Which is like, that is the epiphany that got people to quit playing WoW for the 4th or 5th time. Just sort of like, when you log in because I have to do this, because I have to do it once a day, I'm like, oh shit. Oh shit, no.
It's like, no, you guys don't get it. It's fine. We're already doing that to the full extent that we're going
like,
to.
Stop trying. This is what we call a sure thing.
I think, this is what we call a sure thing. Moving on, OC Remix released a 6-hour-long album based on Final Fantasy VI. And the phrasing based on is basically for legal reasons, but... Yeah, it's just OC Remix 6-hour album, all Final Fantasy VI remixes. Fucking awesome. Yeah, that's about all I'm saying about that. Moving on. PlayStation Universe reposted this, but the original source is actually Ars Technica.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I can't believe I'm a long-time reader, and I don't know why.
I think you said Ars Technica more times than any other word, and you fucked it up.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hot in this room, so I'm starting to, like, go out of it.
Your teeth are melting?
Yeah, my teeth are melting. No, they're actually melting and attaching to my tongue, so it's harder to tongue.
Awesome. Now that your tongue is barbed.
Jawsome. That's my use of Jawsome for this month. I get one a month. And it is the bane of everyone's existence. The PlayStation 4 is actually cheaper than you think. It's, it throws out all these numbers of, like, when adjusted for inflation.
Yeah.
Which, on one hand, wow, adjusted for inflation, that's cool. On the other hand, 2008 to 2013 economies, and
which is why I love those charts. I don't care if it's like bread and milk or cars. I love adjusted for inflation charts.
Yeah?
So much. Because you're like, oh, back then this cost $2,000. Did anyone have $2,000 back then? Like, no, like, I get that, like, that much value, but did people have that much value back then?
How many people were actually able to do this? That is a more accurate depiction of what you're trying to do with the inflation chart. But, that gets into crazy, intricate numbers that we probably don't even have access to. But in any case, so that's a pretty cool chart. I don't know what to say about that other than that. Just that PlayStation 4 wasn't the cheapest. Like, I was surprised, actually, myself. And I think it was because of this supposed recovery of the economy between 2008 and now that has made inflation be like, oh, inflation isn't as bad as it was in 2008 or these other years because of blah, or the economy was amazing in 2006, but 2013, ooh, how that affects inflation as it's used in this chart. I believe because of that, 2013 $400 is seen as more expensive than it should over the course of this. But, once again, as you just said, sure, this cost that much then, but how many people could actually buy that then as opposed to how many people can buy this now? I was kind of surprised that $400 wasn't cheaper in the grand scheme of things across all these consoles. I was like, oh, okay. And then the title of the article, of course, is "It's cheaper than you think," and I'm like, wait, people thought $400. People thought $400 was expensive for a high-end piece of hardware on year one. What? I understand you don't have $400 lying around. Not everyone has $400 plus of disposable income. It's just like, what? Another one of those? Sure, here you go.
I should take this opportunity to point out that, okay, everyone who thinks that Sony changed their price during E3 as a response to Microsoft's price point announcement, you people really, really need to stop talking on the internet. Because this is, Sony is an enormous goddamn company. Yeah. An enormous goddamn company. These kind of decisions are made fiscal years in advance of announcement. Months and months and months. Please have a basic mechanical grasp of the subject you're talking about before you start talking about it.
Yeah, planting the seeds of ignorance is completely heinous. Fucking cut it out. There's so many people doing this on so many different aspects, and the DRM one was another layer of that. Sony changed their decision because Microsoft and they wanted to win. And I'm like, yeah, because they could do that in a single month. They could just pivot that hard and be like, you know what? We spent millions on R&D. And, Sony doesn't exactly have that like Microsoft does. Microsoft could throw away all that work. Sony can't do that so much because they cancel a third of their game. I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's so many people are saying this about so many things. Oh yeah, they made the here's the thing. They made the lack of anti-used games DRM a centerpiece of their E3 conference because in a month in advance they saw how much of a shit storm that was going, and they actually went on record saying exactly that.
Right.
We made that a centerpiece because of that. But people read that, and they're saying, Sony made that decision based on that. And I'm like, no, okay, sweetie, sit down. I'm going to blow your fucking mind. These consoles are engineered to do specific things 2+ years in advance of when they came out. They started work on the PS4 in 2008. 2008. Do you really think that in 2008 Sony... In 2008 Sony, what?
So they're like, oh my god, we have leaked information that Sony started R&D on the PS4, and we're like, no shit.
Yeah, I mean, that's, yeah.
Oh my god, a company's R&Ding new technology? Fuck.
Then why are we buying this piece of bullfuck? Which I love that. I love that concept. Why am I buying this if they're gonna come out with a new one? Because guess what? You're going to die. And this thing's going to die. And that thing's going to die. Everything's going to die. But that's not what this is about. This isn't about who's better. Look, I know a lot of people. I don't sit here and go, he's the best person. Why do I need other friends? Oh, wait, I do.
You don't say that about me?
No, I don't.
What the fuck, man?
Who does say that about you? Are people saying that about you?
4 or 5 people say that shit about me all the time.
That's fucking terrible.
I mean, I don't have a Facebook, but they say that on Facebook a lot.
Oh, they tell you they tell
people
that.
No, I don't read it.
Sweetie, sit down. My name's Chris Hansen. I need to have a talk with you.
Have a seat. Fuck that.
Have a seat, picks up seat, runs. But yeah, no, they obviously targeted that price. And the funny thing is, I felt bad because I was saying all the way up until E3, I'm like, they're going to make $350. They're going to make it $350. They're going to make it $350. And the reason I said this and believe this is because they said, we're not going to make a profit. We're going to break even. we're not going to sell at a loss, but we're going to break even.
Mm-hmm.
Sony's actually profiting $50.
Oh.
That's, yeah, or rather $44 is what all the estimates are showing. So yeah, I thought...
Yeah. Remember, I was reading a quote from Jack Tretton where he's like, you know, like we couldn't change the price, you know, that quick, but so we had a price, and we're for the months ahead, we're like, man, we really hope it's under. That'd be nice.
Like, here's the amazing thing: like, Microsoft has so much money, and they're so capable. Like, I'm not saying they're technically capable. Like, they could have done better. They could have done a better console. They could have done it at a better price point. They could have done better packaging, and they could have lost money and been fine. Mm-hmm. Sony must have been fucking terrified of that the entire time. They're like, oh god, the 360's this good. Oh shit.
They could have just fucked them, but they didn't.
Sony just like, and they announced that. This is my favorite part of that. They announced it on E3. Microsoft's like $500 or $499 US, and then the entire rest of the day the Sony execs are like walking on sunshine because they're like, we're cheaper than you and better. Or like like all around E3 just toothy grin.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that's because, as we were saying, they fucking engineered the console to cost a certain amount way in advance, guys. They can't reverse their decision that quickly. Hell, they could have even gotten a slide up on stage to properly say the price in that amount of time. These things are rehearsed
that
well
kind
in
of
advance.
graphical design to make it look like someone drew it with a crayon, that takes thousands of dollars from some fucking art student so he can call it minimalist.
I wanted to make a parody news report around E3 based on like to parody this exact thought. Where we like edit someone on stage and have them announce a different price than what's on the slide. And then the entire time after the conference, they won't say which price it is. And every time they get asked, they just say, well, we think the price on stage that we said and shown was a good price for like, and they just keep beating around the bush because it is just so preposterous to think that. And we're moving on. We're moving on, Aggro. That's what we're doing. We're going to keep moving. We're going to keep moving. So you actually threw this article in here. I thought it was hilarious. Do you want to?
Yeah, it was one of the guys who, I didn't research this at all. I just thought it was funny.
Okay.
You remember the Mad Max game?
Yeah.
Well, apparently, in some of the videos going around where Mad Max is actually speaking, he had an American accent.
Yeah.
And this was unacceptable.
Yeah.
Completely. So apparently the entire Mad Max fan base, which is apparently an ongoing thing, like there's a Mad Max fan base out there, not just a bunch of guys who are like, oh yeah, I saw Mad Max, it was great. Bod, and they switched voice actors and he's now Australian. Which I kind of feel a little sad about, because I was really looking forward to them just pushing through as an artistic decision, having the game come out with Mad Max with an American accent, and listening to white Australians bitch about being racially marginalized.
Yeah, I mean, I always
that
would have been an interesting topic.
They're like the only people on the planet, white middle class Americans, are allowed to go, hey, stop riding your white privilege and being assholes about it.
That, and it's another layer of like the sexism has become the number one thing to go point towards and be like, this group of people, females, has been completely marginalized and objectified, blah blah blah. When I think obviously people are going to disagree, and I'm just saying this off the top of my head based on what I'm reading. Mm-hmm. Like, I haven't done all the research ever, but I would say black people have way more to complain about when it comes to this sort of thing than females, as the current state of video games. That's exactly what I'm saying, and I think a lot of this,
Dan, I'm going to cut you off right here.
Okay.
As your friend, as a guy who is constantly physically near you,
you want to physically restrain me.
I'm going to tell you, never, ever, ever out loud pick a side on who has it worse, women or black people. There is never a right answer.
I don't get to
ever.
Well,
there's no middle ground. There's no correct side to be on. There's no objective analysis of this subject.
Wait. So we're pulling exactly what the feminists are saying we're doing. We're just gonna ignore it and hope it goes away. Is that what we're doing, Aggro? You monster!
No, you have to address the meat
No!
separately.
That's
Never
what you're
at the
doing.
same time.
That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing.
Oh, are we doing this now?
I'm being logical and reasonable.
Are you sure? Because you're just being belligerent and annoying.
No.
What?
No. But actually, I do want your opinion on this, and I want the opinion of the viewers. Send an email to podcast@gigaboots.com.
Not a dead cat through the mail.
Holy shit, please stop. I honestly think a lot of this is, you know Heavy Rain?
Mm-hmm.
You know how it was like, that's not America. What the fuck is wrong with these people? Like the clearly British people and weird accents and like nothing meshing. And this doesn't look like an American house. Like there was so much of that, like that disconnect between you're pretending you're American, but you're clearly not. That is sort of what it would like. I'm not saying that's definitely the case, but that's sort of what it would be in a lot of cases, because in video game, in the video game community, we don't have a lot of great writers, and it's so hard to get the game development to wrap and interweave properly, be interwoven with the story correctly. I think we would just end up in a lot of uncanny valleys of, I am a woman, women like this, and I think we had that several times by now, actually. We haven't... We've had Japan just being blatantly racist about black people, like, yo, black people like gold teeth and shit. Let's beat up dudes, gangsta gangsta, punch punch punch, and that was called Anarchy Reigns. But I think a lot of it is we need to get. Well, here's the thing. I'm against saying we need to get, because we literally don't need this. But it would be nice, like diversity in what we can consume is nice. It'd be nice if we could get more people like that into development scene and get more things based on that.
Black people who like gold teeth? Is that?
Yeah.
I lost the train here.
The train here is
people
if
like
we
what?
want to see females and black people represented more accurately and in a more pivotal forefront role, I think that's going to happen by getting more of those demographics involved in game development, because you still watch behind the scenes videos of game studios and it's like 80% white dudes, 10% chicks, 5% black people, and the Asians, like, and the occasional Jewish and or French dude. Like, I'm still trying to figure out Christophe Balestra over at Naughty Dog. What is he?
He's French.
Is he? Okay,
I think he might be Southern
I'm
French.
pretty sure he's French. Like, I was like, I'm hearing French, but
aren't those percentages just sort of a cross section of America?
Right? That's sort of
where we get like, we need equality. No, this is overrepresentation. I don't know what you're
like. Here's the thing, and you need to listen carefully to that is the exact problem here. The 80% of the products are 80% produced by the 80% demographic, so 80% of the game represents that demographic, and then the 20% are very pissed. And I've heard somewhere that it is like, and I mean, here's the thing. I'm not denying the existence of girl gamers. I'm dating a girl gamer. Like, yeah.
I can't wait till that term goes away.
Internet. Well, to talk about this specific thing, I have to use that term, which I never use that term outside of this. That's just stupid. Like, a gamer and a girl? Whoa!
Now that it's 1983.
Dude, I was on the playground and there was this girl with a Game Boy.
God, it's like people who still call people on the football team jocks. Like, seriously, that's not a thing.
Right. I understand that. I'm not sure most people do. Sort of losing my train of thought. There was an article, and it said this thing, and it kept getting perpetuated by everybody else talking about it, that gamers are 40%, 45%, really close to 50 female. And I'm like, raise his hand. Is that true? Are you saying that because that's the gender divide in the United States? Are you assuming that just wholesale, like a certain percent, like the United States is 49% female, ergo 1% of all American citizens play video games? Like, is that what you're doing? Because I don't think we have proper statistics to show this.
Yeah,
and
that statistic is useless anyway.
Moreover, people get involved in these industries because they're passionate about it. If we had that many passionate females about game development, then why aren't there more females in game development? There are females in game development who've done many important things. Mm-hmm. And we always seem to point at the wrong ones. We always seem to point at the loudest and go, yeah, she knows what this is about. Like the most feminist, the more feminist making a hot button issue out of this and various other things the female is, the more we act like they are an accomplished female developer. Like, there are many amazing female developers out there who don't get the attention they deserve because they aren't making a gigantic issue. And I'm not saying they're overinflating the issue. But as we were discussing, it is the 80% of the 80% of the 80% and the 20%'s angry.
And I should point out, as a matter of rigor, if someone tells you a certain percentage of gamers, they're bullshitting you. That is a useless statistic. There is no classical definition for what constitutes a gamer.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a self-identified group, and with the huge prevalence of video games in modern mainstream culture, it's useless because everyone plays video games.
Right. Exactly. And it's like, okay, does a person who played Jetpack Joyride, is that a gamer?
No, he's a filthy casual. Fuck off.
But I fucking play that.
You know what was casual? Columns.
Yeah.
And that game fucking rule.
God damn it. Why haven't puzzle games come back to vogue on consoles yet? Mobile is all that. And I mean, that's partially because the controls, your method of interfacing with it is so roundabout and limited in what it can do.
Yeah.
It has to be puzzle games a lot of the time. But it's, damn it, columns, man. Columns, right? Columns. Man, we could just fucking call that our round table. That lasted for fucking ever.
Yeah, basically.
What Australians? Of course, that's how we got on that.
Fucking Australians. We really got to stop talking about Australia.
Yeah?
In any of our videos. Because it always gets weird.
Really? What?
Yeah.
Well, do you think this is because Shard dropped the colony on Australia, or?
No, I think it's because Australia is a great example of what happens when you just leave white people alone for an extended period of time. They get weird.
Huh. Is that so?
Well,
we should do another podcast about the world and what we think of the world as Americans.
We'll do it. Random cultural history podcast. It'll be great.
It'll be fantastic.
It'll be mostly me bullshitting a very watered down survey view of American history. Which might
so it's high school again.
Extremely racist.
Wow.
Because honestly, like, people are like, oh man, you need to stop teaching history all racist. Guys, history was pretty racist. I don't know how to break it to you any other way than I just did.
Though how classrooms in high school, elementary, middle school, etc., how do they tonally handle history is completely fucking terrible.
Not like the Eurocentrism.
What you're completely correct. You're completely correct on the on that front. Like, to tonally convey what exactly the situation was there. Yeah,
Charles de Gaulle just wanted to keep black people out of Spain. There's really no other way to say that. I mean, sure, it was because they were an attacking force of ideologically opposed religious zealots, but really, when you sit down at the meeting, he's gonna say the black people are coming, except he's gonna say Moor, which either means to tie a boat or black guy.
To get us off of that, I'm going to jump back into the place we just spent forever in and go, hey, did you hear that a lot of people were saying David Jaffe is sexist because he
Is there a because there? Is that just not common knowledge?
I know, right?
Guys, I don't know David Jaffe to be sexist, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was in a very cool, we're hanging out in a bar talking mean about women kind of way.
Is that what you do? You're in like bars? Fucking women.
Well, I'm always angry when I'm in a bar, so say mean things.
Well, in any case, I mean, for me, it would be like I'm hanging out with David Jaffe and we're in a bar and we're taking drinks, and then he says something about his wife, and then he says something large about females, like just like as an extension of like his ex-wife, and you know, that's what I expect. But in any case, what basically happened is he was like, we should, here's my proposal. We should come up with a way to free good editorialists, good people who write about video games, journalists, whatever, from the shackles of hits driving ad revenue by fundraising via Kickstarter a large amount of money. And then we just get the top tier journalists and whatever from all these different sites, and we get them to write about video games on this one site, or maybe even their own blogs. Who cares? The point is to get quality content out there and make sure that people are being paid and blah, blah, blah. So he goes to list. He goes to list. Yeah.
Crowdfunding objectivity. That's an interesting notion.
It's a fucking good idea because a lot of these sites can't write like I do about these topics in the way I can because we aren't supported by fucking anyone. I'm like, fuck Microsoft, and so do you fucked us.
But I think we're always going to point to the Kane and Lynch fiasco of like, no, they'll fucking do it. They'll pull the trigger on that shit.
I mean, if anything, the whole Xbox One DRM thing just constantly makes me think, how many of these sites are fucking shills?
Yeah. Because
they just, no, it's a case of bad messaging. That's not a case of bad messaging when somebody...
Enthusiast media bought and paid for.
Yeah, in any case, getting off that, he goes, Ben Kuchera, not Steven Totillo, because he owns Kotaku.
He just doesn't name a chick?
No, that's not what happens.
Oh, God.
He finishes his list of males, and then he goes, we can even throw Lee Alexander in there. I personally don't like the woman, but... And that was it. You don't need to know what the rest of the sentence was.
But because I can guess at a lot of what a bunch of the responses were, and I'd like to get out ahead of this if I can attempt to be psychic here.
Okay.
The way common colloquial English is structured, when you are referring to a person, in English you like to be as specific as possible. It's a matter of form. It's a matter of linguistic etiquette. So when you refer to a female human being as a woman, it's just part of how our language works, God damn it.
Yeah. And the best, most amazing part of this is because, like, if you go back to this fiasco, which I believe happened in April or something, I forget, you can see me interfacing with, like, the forefront of people calling him a sexist. And I'm just like, why is he a sexist? And they're like, because he's a fucking pig. And I'm like, no, I'm asking you, what happened and why is he a sexist? Are you defending him? And I'm like,
oh my God.
No, I don't doubt that he's sexist, but I want you to tell me why you think he is. And then they point at that, and I'm like, he called, like, he doesn't, they're, like, at the basic level, as you were saying, they're upset that he didn't identify her by her employment. It's basically the opposite of Fight Club. Like, she is her job. You should refer to her as her job. Like, okay, here's the thing. He did that for everyone. He said guy, dude, and various other male versions of that term, only even more chummy. And of course he doesn't use a chummy one for her, though not all of them were chummy. He doesn't use a chummy one for her because Lee Alexander shat all over Twisted Metal. After it finished development, she said, I would pretend I didn't make that game if I was on the development staff.
Damn.
And that's why he doesn't... I
think woman's kind of a tame appellation at that point.
Yes! How nice of him to refer to her as a woman at that point, because, like... His reply was so fucking spot on. He was like, how nice of you to think that you are qualified enough to even say if you made that game. I guess people need to have stars to reach for. And that was his full, like, he was fucking done with her at that point. And I mean, here's the thing. He's fucking right. Like, I would be goddamn impressed if any journalist was talented enough to actually fucking make the games that they're reviewing. There's a reason people who make games are making games. Because they can. People who are generally journalists of games have never fucking made a game ever.
Yeah, which is why I always feel really bad when we're quick playing a terrible game. And every now and then I take way too long to preamble it with, like, no, like, I'm sure you worked really hard with a high degree of technical skill on this, but what you made is kind of shitty.
Right. See, that's the thing. We've quick played like 400 games, and preambling every single time is fucking hassle. But I'm a very technically minded person, and I understand you understand that. I'm not sure Bob does. I am really concerned the guy's like, what a fucking idiot. But it just hits a point where, guys, we do over 400 videos. We can't say every time, we're sure you're fucking smart, and hanging out with you would be probably pretty cool. But this fucking blows. Mm-hmm. We've made terrible fucking internet videos.
We have.
That doesn't make us idiots. That means we've just done stupid things.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that happened. Moving on to the last news story, Amazon says the PS4 is coming in October. People point at it as concrete evidence.
This happens every time anything ever comes out. Amazon puts up a date because they have to. I guess it's part of how their site works, but they do it every time.
It's their expectation that it'll come out earlier than the Xbox One because they have a much better supply stream, and it would behoove Sony to come out earlier. Ergo, it's just as valid as me telling you, as I'm about to, I do expect them to come out in October because they have a much better supply. Everything's working out way better for the PS4 than the Xbox One at the moment. They could easily come out earlier with a much larger supply, and it would behoove them to do so. But neither me saying that nor Amazon saying that is official news. What is wrong with you people?
And it doesn't, and I think this is very important. It doesn't make it more likely that it will happen if more people say this.
Yeah. And that's its own layer.
Which people are saying this that is much more important.
Yeah. And this falls back to that thing from earlier of people, please stop saying these things, because the more you perpetuate it, the more people think it's fact as they come into this world.
Yeah.
You know how many teenagers are out there right now who have no fucking clue because of all these people who are like, they lied when they said the PS3 was more powerful than the 360. No, they fucking didn't. The PS3 is way more powerful. The problem is it's hard to
like
program
an orbital rail cannon. Aiming that shit is just that is a trick.
Yeah. And there's just
Mike's got to shut down and go blackout communication for 24 hours to aim that shit at, sorry.
Yeah, but there's so many things about this industry that are like that, of just people, this isn't exactly what I expect when they say words. They lied.
Yeah, and really,
and you people are bringing the younger generation into a worse world because you won't shut up about things you don't know about.
And if you're going to be a part of the game conversation, please do your research, because in most industries we have a layer of knowledgeable journalism to protect us that we can go, oh, okay, like these are the facts. We don't have that here because half of them are bought and the other half are just posting random shit you people say.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we can even break it down into thirds of those two things you just said, and the last third is official PR from a company, which...
Oh, that was the first part.
Oh, okay.
Bought and paid for.
Oh, well, no, like, there's a difference between a company coming out and saying, like, the cloud is going to be able to... Like, that's one tier, right? Then those dumb shits who work at every large publication repeating what they say as though it's complete fact is the second tier. And then the third tier is people not researching. Yeah. So those are the three tiers
like,
of horseshit.
I'm so used to being lied to at E3. It's part of E3. It's fun. It's like a riddle. Then you go on the internet and you realize how many people don't understand that. No, E3 is a place where they lie to you. That's just a thing. It happens.
Yeah.
Heads up, guys. Eyes open.
Yeah. I mean, fucking every major thing where Sony shows off something, like, it's usually you can gauge it by how much emphasis is on what they're showing, like how important it is, the more likely it is to be fudged. Which is why I wasn't really impressed by a lot of the Xbox One stuff at that meeting, because it was just like, this doesn't look absolutely nuts.
I was impressed by the goddamn McLaren P1 on stage.
Yes, you were. That was probably a third of their $1 billion to create content that differentiates their platform. But yeah, okay. In any case, we're done with news. We're gonna do a round table. We're gonna talk about Kickstarter and whether or not it's principally flawed, and just sort of rant on that. I like being a ranty podcast.
You like being a ranty podcast?
I like being a ranty podcast. Okay, yeah, we'll take a short break and then we're going to do that. That'll be fun. This is fun stuff. We're going to have fun. You and I. Yeah. We're going to, yep. Yeah. It's fucking hot in here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're going to do this round table about the Double Fine fiasco with Kickstarter and all those developments as of late. So, Aggro, you're not familiar with this?
No, I heard a bit of an echo about it earlier, but I don't know what went down.
Allow me to preamble this. Wow, I honestly thought you knew. He told me right before we started recording that he didn't.
This is how I learn a lot of my news. I just see jokes about it, and I'm like, oh, did something happen?
What's going on, guys? And then you find out what it is, and you're like, oh, damn it. This isn't funny anymore. Yeah, because I would like to think the new style podcast, so I'm going to make sure everyone's informed, so when we go to make the discussion, we have ideas. I didn't realize you didn't know. So, they ran out of funding. Double Fine got so much more money than what they asked for, like 100 times or some shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were the first one to pull this Kickstarter miracle shit.
Or maybe 10 times. I forget what they asked for. But in any case, they got $4 million or some shit. And they ran out of money. They did a recent scheduling thing. And then they went, oh, we don't have enough money and this won't be done for a really long time. So they're like, okay, going back to Kickstarter is a terrible fucking idea.
Yeah.
And they considered it even. Like, just saying that sentence.
You have to. It's a spitballing meeting. Like, we're fucked. What do we do?
Right. I would have punched that guy. Like,
yeah. No,
you don't even bring that up. Because that's, oh my god, you will be the laughingstock. I mean, they already have enough of a PR issue because of this. But doing a second Kickstarter on the same game when they exceeded their expectations so much. In any case... So they said they can't do that. Getting a publisher would basically violate the contract to some extent that they made with the Kickstarter people, with everyone who funded them on Kickstarter. Not Kickstarter itself, but everyone who funded them on Kickstarter. Mm-hmm. It would be like, hey, give us some money and we're going to make this game without any publisher telling us what to do. Shit, we need more money. Go get a publisher to tell us what to do.
I'd like to focus on that sentence really quick. They ran out of money?
Right. That's really where I was about to go with this, because there's not much else to talk about. Well, no. They ran out of money. The way Tim Schafer phrases it is that he went to go make a game that a publisher wouldn't let him make. So when he dreams big. And that the whole point of making this is to make a grand concept. And they realized they couldn't accomplish what the structure for the game, the frame for the game. Because, game development. Like, it's almost like the entire thing is being developed constantly. Like, you have 1 million buckets and you're filling them all at once. Mm-hmm. Only now, this far into it, did he realize, I have 1 million goddamn buckets. How long is this going to take to fill?
Yeah.
Do we have that much water? And at the scheduling meeting, they realized not only were they not going to launch anywhere, not only were they not going to launch when they thought they were going to, they were going to be way over budget. So guess what they're doing?
What are they doing?
They are chopping it in half. What they realized is they had barely enough money to make a fourth of the game they wanted to make. For that much money, got them enough to make a fourth of the game that they had set out the structure for. Now I'm going to take a slight moment to go. Does anyone at this point not realize why publishers do not like Tim Schafer? Going back to what I was saying. So they are funding the other half of the money for the first half of this game, because as I said, Kickstarter's gonna that money builds a fourth of the game they wanted, and then they're going to take profits from their own self-published games to fund another half of that first half of the game, so they have 50% of the funding for the full game to make the first half, and then they're going to release that. And to to solve the problem of people being angry that it isn't out on time of when it should be. Just that part.
They're going to solve the problem?
No. They're going to release early access on Steam in January. So people can play it, like, I think they said it's coming out in June. June or July next year, obviously. They get to play it about 5 months before it's done. So it's still, and it's an adventure game, so that could be fucking horrible.
This has got to be some sort of horrible alternate universe joke.
And then the second half of the game is going to come in 2015.
The Double Fine thing, it was the first big Kickstarter miracle child. It was, and like we joked meanly back then, like, man, what if this just fucks up all over the face of the earth? What everyone else figured out how to use Kickstarter immediately after this shit exploded was that you draw up the design for a $500,000 project. If you get $80 million, you make the $500,000 project
super
and then
awesome.
Some extra shit and super polish or whatever. You don't then adjust your plan based on the new money you got,
which is basically, to some extent, what he did. To really talk about that, let me explain. It was a PC game at first, and then it started becoming more platforms: iOS, Android, all sorts of other things. And a lot of other people are picking up on that, and they're like, "We're going to do that too." And some of these places are reputable, and their games are designed in a way that's okay. That's gonna work out fine for them, I'm sure, or at least I'm way more sure than 100% failure rate on that concept.
Yeah.
Like but here, just like, okay, you're taking a PC game and making it work on iOS and Android. There's just so many layers of getting that to work, and you have a good bit of funding, but you also said you're going to make the game better than it was, and you're Tim Schafer, and yeah.
That is epic mishandling.
Yeah. Ugh, epic. I'm sorry.
There are better ways to do all of that.
Yeah.
Fuck. Like the cross-platform thing. I love the way Cryptozoic handled it when the Kickstarter Hex. They're like, okay, stretch goals out the ass. And one of them was, if we get this much money, we'll just hire a fucking team to port this shit to tablets. We'll finish making the game, and these assholes will put it on iPad.
And that's a way better way to do that.
Yeah.
In several layers.
Now, I've got to imagine, the outrage of people who kickstarted, because what the way Tim Schafer seems to have handled this, or whoever's fault this is, I don't know who to specifically blame if it is Tim Schafer. What they fucking did here at Double Fine is Kickstarter. You are selling a product that you haven't made yet, usually. What he did was offer a product and then make a different one. So when people are mad and they're like, he's fucking us over, and people go, Kickstarter's a risk. Yes, Kickstarter is always a risk.
Yeah.
Things can go horribly wrong.
Definitely.
Tim Schafer made things go horribly wrong, it seems.
Yeah, that sort of is the difference here. I guess, real quick, I'm going to steer this in the direction of publishers because that's a shorter topic than the principal understanding, contract, and prospects of Kickstarter. Mm-hmm. A publisher's job is basically to keep a man like that in check.
To make sure this shit doesn't happen.
Right, to be like, no, crop this. Now, there is the side effect of a lot of these publishers, and I didn't know how true this was until I started looking up this information. A lot of them are schooled in film. So they do not understand that in a video game, that adding the scene where this happens that late is not going to work.
Yeah.
For so many different reasons. So a lot of them are Hollywood-style publishers and managers, product managers coming in and demanding things. And I have no doubt Dave Cox is that style of person when he handles the Castlevania Lords of Shadow installments. That is a bad product of the industry, and that needs to be fixed. And a fucking film college shouldn't be allowed to offer a degree in video game production, management. That is an incredibly specialized field that requires
a different mode of learning.
Yeah, I mean, not only is there managerial, organizational, and other budgetary concerns there with that sort of thing, there is a absolute necessity for technical knowledge of understanding game development.
Yeah, there's a lot of cross-disciplinary management there, and you actually need to be able to understand the things people are telling you. So when you go, hey, add this in, and the programmers look at you and go, do you know math? Do you understand how this works? Because fuck no, we can't do that.
But you have 8 gigs. Do it. Do it to it. Yeah, I mean, that's horrible. And publishing is getting worse because people are terrified of losing money because they're out there losing money every day. So, of course, they're being risk averse, which is terrible for us as consumers because our products are less diverse. And honestly, Super Polish is a great way to go with a video game, and it was great when the Japanese industry had hold of the video game industry because the way they produce games generally would be more polished than American studios because of the different work methodologies. Like, they work 12 hours a day or some shit. Like, it's fucking crazy. Like, we call that crunch time. They call that Wednesday. But this is exactly why we have publishers, so that way shit gets made and someone keeps it in check, and when it's not going well, they pull the trigger and prevent a lot of money from being lost. And now everyone who kickstarted that game, to some extent, gets to remotely understand the concept of no, just because a company has a lot of money, that doesn't make it not $4 million. Money went missing, and some of that was yours. Money was used grossly inappropriately, more accurately, and some of that was yours. So you got to enjoy the taste, the great, crisp, and refreshing taste of being a publisher. Hope you enjoyed it.
I think in the next few months here, the upcoming weeks, we're going to start seeing the shape of Kickstarter litigation. We're going to have our first real case study in who you can sue for what when what goes wrong.
I am completely against that.
Yep. It's going to be bloody, it's going to be slow, and everybody's going to hate it.
No. That's the problem. Not everyone's going to hate it.
Oh.
There are going to
everyone who are people.
There's so about the video game community echo chamber. There's going to be so many people who are like, yeah, Tim Schafer deserves to get... No! You trusted Tim fucking Schafer and Double Fine to make a fucking video game with your money. This isn't with someone else's money. This isn't stating an intent to buy. That you gave them your fucking money. Technically, you gave Kickstarter a percentage too, just for presenting you with the opportunity to fucking give them money to make the goddamn game. And you knew. You fucking knew. And if you didn't, you were a fucking idiot for giving them money, or you just have way too much money and way too little sense, that he has problems. Those people are important. But
we'll get to that later.
We will get to that later. But you fucking knew Brutal Legend happened. You knew he bristled against all sorts of publishers. You know Psychonauts, all these other things. Like, he has produced great games. That has happened. Or at very least, you can say that games people greatly enjoyed. He also causes a lot of production issues. Like, this isn't a guy from Naughty Dog. This isn't the director from Naughty Dog. People have consistently turned out an absolutely high caliber product that you can go like, oh man, this guy knows exactly what he's fucking doing. In fact, I wouldn't trust David Jaffe with Kickstarter money.
No, I wouldn't trust David Jaffe with an empty bottle.
Really?
That man needs to be supervised.
See, and that's Aggro gets it. Aggro gets it. You don't... Jaffe is a guy who comes from AAA. He comes from console-exclusive AAAs. You don't fucking give him money to make a fucking small title unless he can present a shitload of information. Which, wait a second. Who came from small beginnings to make a small product, had a very clear business plan and a goal, and made strides towards that, had a good foundation? Somebody did that Kickstarter. It was Skullgirls, and that's how they got so much fucking money, you goddamn idiots. That's why they got so much money. They incentivized it properly. They did all of the math up front. They gave you all the percentages. They did all of that. And then they were just like, and this is how much it will cost. And we fucking loved it. We love Skullgirls. They had a modest plan. We're adding one character. Please give us money.
Yeah. And, honestly, it is only in video games, I think, where this problem arises with Kickstarter. Where, like, if some motherfucker's like, I'm gonna knit scarves, buy a scarf. And, like, a bazillion people buy a scarf, well, all that money goes into yarn and time.
Right.
With a video game, it only takes the one amount of money to make the game for infinite copies. So you just have this surplus of cash, and if you don't put it into the correct things, we have a problem.
Yeah, like even in music, MSI actually did a Kickstarter for their most recent album before it came out. They're like, hey, we're making an album, assholes, so you know what you do? You give us money! And they were like so upfront with like, Kickstarter is this sort of bum deal, but you're interested in this band so much, you'll fucking do it. And their album was amazing.
Which... Now, for things like, music, entertainment, things where you just make one and copy it forever. I really love seeing on Kickstarters, like, here, there's always the level where it's like, here's where the game is. It's like $10, $25, $60. This is your copy of the game level. Mm-hmm. And then above that, there's the levels with the bonus shit and the extra stuff. They're like collector's editions. And then you have like $1,000, where it's basically people who have been kind of well off of their whole lives, who just have a shit ton of extra money lying around, and they want to help, and they know they can by doing this. Just give a shit ton of money to a project. I think this, like, fuck tax bracket bullshit. Kickstarter is how we redistribute wealth.
Yeah, I think it's actually a really smart way to do that, because it's still capitalism, but it's actually a better way to approach capitalism as it applies to game development or something like that.
It's remarkably populist capitalism.
Yeah.
This is how we trickle shit down.
Yeah, this is actual Reaganomics at work.
Reaganomics.
Fucking, I mean, if I'm anything to work by, just disposable income versus how much I invested in a Kickstarter I truly believed in and was passionate about. I don't have a lot of disposable income relative to a lot of the people who write about video games, especially them. Fuck those guys. All of them. I hate them all. Especially you, Ben Kuchera. Fuck you. Buy a Wii U, my dick. In any case, he was saying instead of tweeting the PS4 no DRM hashtag, you should buy a Wii U. That would really show a protest in time for E3. That'll really...
God damn it.
Yeah, Ben Kuchera is a fucking
on
idiot.
Region Lock, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, in any case. No, we won't.
We're
still
not going to talk about it.
It's still $350 compared to a PS4 being $400. It's a bum deal. In any
yeah,
case.
but that Ghost game was really fun.
Dude, yeah, the Wii U. Like, and so many people don't get that. That asymmetric multiplayer is a really fucking smart, really fucking fun thing.
Yeah, that's great shit.
We consistently go back to Nintendo Land because it's fucking fun to play with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in any case, I don't have a whole lot of disposable income, but I am more than willing. I was passionate about, I had to think about it a lot and think about all these tiers and what they meant to me, what these prizes, rewards meant to me. But I threw $100 down on the Squiggly. And I got so much out of that just for the $100. Like, you compare that to spending $100 on entertainment in general. That's one AAA game at retail at launch, and then 2/3 of another. And I got so much more than that out of that, to me. Like, because it is a product. Skullgirls, I play dozens of hours of that a week. During my off week specifically. But so I guess that works out to about 6 hours a week. And it just means so much to me. And that's why Kickstarter's great. But there's that extra layer that absolutely 98% of the people who are throwing money at a Kickstarter, especially video game ones, lack. Or rather, it is especially more crucial when it comes to a video game one lack. That layer that you just understand the business savvy of the people who are working on this thing. What are they building it on? What are they using? And as the guy who's making Freedom Planet noted, I forget their name at the moment, he made sure that he could produce the whole game with the money he went to Kickstarter to ask for, regardless of what happened, as long as he met that. he can make the whole game exactly as it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But there's another layer on top of that that allowed him to do that, and that's because he's making the game in Multimedia Fusion 2. And that just makes development so much easier and so much more like he doesn't need a guy to work on the UI for the iOS version forever, and then another guy to do all the research for Android to figure out the different things. And it was like the super small scale project, super small scale expectations, and it's very conservative. Squiggly was the same thing. They had done the engine. They had done half of the work on Squiggly.
You know that they can accomplish it.
Yeah.
The level of risk is, honestly, I kind of like it. Which is why there are 2 conditions under which I will kickstart something.
Right.
One, I know these motherfuckers can do it. Like Cryptozoic is like, hey, we're pretty much done with the alpha for this game. We need a shit ton of money to finish it, polish it, and ship it. I'm like, cool, it's fucking Cryptozoic. They're going to get it done. Right. Or it's something that I really want to see exist.
Shadowrun?
Yeah.
Which one does that fall into?
Shadowrun was actually a bit of both.
Okay.
Like, I believed, Harebrained Schemes could get that shit done.
Yeah.
And he's like, when they did their Kickstarter video, he basically showed like, hey, I made the original Shadowrun. These are the guys that made the other Shadowruns. We're all going to make this Shadowrun. I'm like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
Now, the other one is I really want it to exist, and I don't care if it just fucks up, because I want to be able to 10 years from now go, yeah, I kickstarted that. Which is why, as some of you may be aware, I kickstarted the Mega Tokyo visual novel game.
I did I retweet that, or did I just reply and go, you sick
bitch.
You sick bitch.
I just looked at it, I'm like, he's right.
Yeah, I mean, that was a whole nother layer for me for this Squiggly thing. Like, I am in a very high tier for supporters on that, so I get to be better than all of you.
Like, shit, with the Shadowrun thing, the level I kickstarted at, I get a dock wagon card with my picture on it.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I wish I got it in time
I love
for that Kickstarter.
really stretch goals are the best thing ever.
Yes.
When managed properly, stretch goals are amazing, because you get the ones where it's the stretch goals and high tier stuff, because you get really cool stuff from the people who are making the game. Usually not some shit from a marketing department that I don't want anyway. Like, here's a figurine. What am I going to do with this? And the stretch goals, a lot of times it's you've already paid your money, and then it just keeps adding value as more people find the Kickstarter. So fucking, what was it? Hex, the thing Cryptozoic's doing. I kickstarted it because I wanted this game to come out, and then stretch goals kept getting hit. So, I kept getting extra packs of cards because they'd hit a stretch goal. Or we're having fucking HexCon because they hit a stretch goal. And draft tournaments now have a new mode because they hit a stretch goal. So the product kept getting better.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of what happened with Skullgirls and me. And that is just so fantastic. I forget the term for that. There's a term in economics when the scale of your production... not because of the scale itself, but because of the side effects of the scale, completely benefit what you are doing. Like, iOS is hugely popular, so it feeds into itself. It's hugely popular, so it does this, so that's popular, so these are popular, and it keeps building up support. And video game consoles are actually like this, not just Kickstarter campaigns and other things. Consoles are like this themselves, where, if we saw somebody get market majority, you would see a lot more like, oh, we put tons of effort into our PS4 version of this game, so it's even more amazing than it would have been before.
Right.
Because that's where the majority of our sales are. And that would be nice. Again, I miss the PS2.
Yeah, that's my favorite part of the console war, is just waiting to see where that shit tips, and then it's just...
And this gen was largely boring because there was no tip. Yeah. It just...
Naughty Dog single-handedly held the balance of exclusive power.
I know, right? It
just
was
look at all the shit that runs better on the 360. Too bad Uncharted's not on it.
Yeah, it was like, oh man, your first 4 years. Oh man, your version of Blah is better. Damn it! Oh, it doesn't. Oh god, damn it! And then Skyrim's the last entry in that book. And then it's like, you guys have Gears and Halo. Oh my god, Have you seen Uncharted? Have you? No, don't tell me you're not interested. Have you played Uncharted? As Reggie Fils-Aimé has said, play the games. Play the games.
Nice.
He did that for like 10 minutes at E3. He wouldn't stop talking so they could play the games. He just kept saying, play the games.
Nice. Which is like that's always been Nintendo's big hurdle. Like, get it into someone's hands and they'll try it. Which is actually, who said that about the Vita recently?
I don't know, but that's the problem with the Vita, and that's the problem with the Wii U.
Yeah.
They're really good platforms. The Wii U is a better platform than the Xbox One. Can you agree with that, Aggro? Like, I want your opinion on this, because that's my opinion. I think the Wii U is a much better concept. I have a place in my heart for the Wii U and the PS4. I don't have a place in my heart for the really technically capable platform with all of this awesome tech built into it to make my online shopping experience better, and its fucking retarded cousin that's 50%, or what is it, 33% less powerful, almost like over a half teraflop less powerful, and fucks me harder. Like, pay more for online, do all this stuff. I'm worse at things, buy this camera. Which, real quick, most of that may be, you're forced to buy this camera, we have 2 games. 2. At all of E3, 2 fucking Kinect games. You have a fucking opportunity to really push Kinect because it's in every box, and you people just keep saying, well, it's for TV. And they actually said that. They kept stressing, like...
But honestly, the flip side of this is... But Kinect games suck.
iToy games are the same level of... Well, actually, no. The iToy games were more responsive.
Yeah, like on the PS2, that shit worked.
Well, okay, getting back to Kickstarter. I completely disagree with the concept that Kickstarter is principally flawed and that this is showing how it's flawed. Trusting people with money is not flawed. It is your incompetence.
Well, you ask. I don't trust anybody with money.
You don't trust anybody with money?
I don't trust anybody.
You've lent
with
me
anything.
You've lent me money.
Yeah, but I was raised Christian, so I didn't really expect it back.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wait a second. So being raised Christian makes you expect people to never pay you back?
Yeah. You see, when you say it like that, it just sounds so awful. But yeah.
Yeah? Oh, okay, yeah. So you should never trust anybody with money ever.
Nope. Or sugar.
Didn't...
I was also raised Kabbalist.
Oh, wow. But yeah, no, the failing isn't in trusting people with money. The failing is in your incompetence to figure out whether or not you should. And I think a large part of this is we don't have anybody who's actually technically educated, or at least very, very, very well informed on this topic.
Yeah, do we have like a third-party Kickstarter review board?
No, I wanted to do that, but then I realized how much insane amount of work that would be. A lot of
time.
It is a ton of time. It's like the rant is go for every game. Mm-hmm. Because anything less than that would be a sham. Yeah. And I'm sure that'll arrive.
I guess a few early snake bites have scared people a little bit. You know, where they had guys getting Kickstarter money for fake games.
It just hit me.
Huh.
This is actually really smart. In my opinion, I want to hear yours. And yours, viewer. Email us at podcast@gigaboots.com.
We read all of your feedback and don't sit around laughing at your emails. It doesn't sound like that at all.
She said what? We should kickstart a show for YouTube that's a Kickstarter review show. We assess the ability of these various game projects to actually deliver. It is relevant to the interests of gamers, Kickstarter connoisseurs, and it's on Kickstarter. Like, that is amazingly good advertising. Like, we're just going to put that right in front of you. Okay, there we go. This is for you. It's like going to someone's house who loves something, but they don't have it. They're like, I just wish I could have a dozen donuts. And you just walk right in the front door, and you're like, there's a dozen donuts. Pay me later. See ya. And they're just like, damn, that is awesome. That guy knew exactly what I wanted. Because I know there are tons of people out there who are looking at these projects, and they were just like, oh man, that sounds great, but I don't know if that'll work. Especially now. Now with this Double Fine thing. There are actually 2 or 3 other examples of games that got kickstarted and just fell through because of real life problems and other such things. But very seriously, write us at...
Has anybody kickstarted a better Duke Nukem game yet?
No.
Then no one gets the irony when it never comes out.
I do think there should be something about Kickstarter that has a way of actually striking out against products that don't successfully get made. Like, oh, you came to Kickstarter to kickstart this game, and that game was canceled. You can't make any more Kickstarters.
It's not like Amazon where you get downvotes and it shows up on your account.
Yeah. I mean, there's that, but that's not harsh enough. Because people won't go vote. They'll be like, Tim Schafer, upvote. Like, that's what's going to happen. Yeah. But,
I mean, really, with this format, it's hard to have any kind of enforceable
policy. Yeah, I understand that, which is why it should just be like, they should make it absolutely apparent in the terms of service of making a Kickstarter. You make a Kickstarter and you don't make the product, you can never make a Kickstarter ever again.
It's completely unenforceable.
No, that is enforceable. They are people. People are like, they have to give them their personal information in order to get paid.
Get someone else to do it.
Well, you also extrapolate to the layer of a studio. Like Double Fine and Tim Schafer can no longer make. No one's going to make a brand new... Okay, some people are going to make brand new companies to do that.
Yeah.
But the layer we're talking about...
It either had to be way too draconic or just completely unenforceable.
Yeah, I guess completely unenforceable.
Just we have to rely on people remembering that they fucked up. Which is why, like, I kind of like Kickstarter actually, being as Wild West as it is.
This is the irony here. I'm striking out against people who say we shouldn't trust people with money to make products, right? Because instinctively not trusting people to be capable of making products is moronic. Instinctively not trusting people to understand. No, I mean, period. As a
what, categorically,
categorically,
we wouldn't have an economy,
right? You basically are paranoid, if not other things, at that point, where you're just like, only an idiot would use Kickstarter. Why would you use Kickstarter? I don't trust it anymore because OUYA and other things are crap or failed completely. But at the same time, I don't trust people to actually research on Kickstarter. There's a difference here, though. Skullgirls makes a good example. These are people who have done this thing before. They show successfully they can do exactly that, and they are very, very talented and smart people. Your average Kickstarter person is not that. I'm not going to say they're all stupid, uninformed, or whatever. I'm going to say the vast majority are. That they're just people with money, and they're passionate, and they're caught up in the moment, and they may have more money than sense. So that's why I'm like, I don't know, like, I can't trust the market. Like, there are a lot of things where I'm like, whatever, the market will solve it, because fuck it, the market will solve it. But in this case, I'm like, no, I really can't trust Kickstarter's community to have a long-term memory. It's the internet. They can't even remember what Sony promised us with the PS3 and see how the Xbox One is similar. Like, only very few journalists have pointed out, yeah, the Xbox One thing just reeks of hubris that outclasses Sony's PS3 launch. What the fuck?
Which, that's a high goddamn bar.
Yeah, it really is. Work 2 jobs for your PS3. This is going to have 2 HDMI outputs. So if you have 2 1080p TVs in 2006... 2005 is when they said that sentence. That was even more hilarious.
Yeah. Like, in the thick of Sony fandom, we just looked at each other and went, holy shit, did that just happen?
I'm like, I'm poor, so maybe maybe someone out there with money has that. That must be cool for them. Maybe someday that will be cool for me too. I was wrong.
Which I guess with this this concept boils down to is you need to remember that Kickstarter, you're not buying a game.
No.
You're funding the development of a game.
Exactly. That is exactly it.
And what, you're not an investor, so you're not his boss.
Yeah, like you're not an investor, so you haven't been vetted to see what these people generally what qualities they need to have to blah blah blah. So you're already on a bad foot, most likely.
Yeah, like this isn't it's not an investment. It's an act of faith.
Yeah. And that's why it's communist
shown,
to sell.
Sometimes that fucks you over.
Yeah. An act of faith fucks you. No, that didn't happen, did it?
No. There was no children's crusade. That didn't happen at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah.